Ni hao. Good afternoon. Thought I'd try to be like Zuck, but I'm not as fluent in Mandarin as Zuckerberg is. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to talk with you a little bit about what we call the 100-year plan. If you think about a time-honored tradition, usually when you have individuals that you care about, that you love, you usually move on with something to them, whether it be a watch, whether it be a piece of furniture or whatnot. That's what I really want to talk about with everyone this afternoon. Let's go back in time. Let's go back to sometime in the early 70s. And consumer electronics companies actually had a vision of longevity of product design. Unfortunately, it hasn't played out necessarily the way they had envisioned in their advertising. This could be the tape deck you would leave your grandson. Really? I don't think this is really a Rolex. A Rolex does stand the test of time. But we believe, my co-founders and I, Aubrey Anderson, Jason Proctor, those of us in Monohm, that there is a chance for a 100-year plan. And there's also an opportunity to share this vision to other new startups, other consumer electronics, other product design companies around the world, especially as it relates to this new medium of Internet of Things and wearables. Over the course of my 2 decades of working in this industry, I would have to say that a lot of the experiences and products that I've worked on have unfortunately ended up at the top of the e-waste pile. Usually the lifespan of one of our particular products that we would make usually lasts only about 2 years. And so when we formed this new company, Monohm, we thought really hard. We did a lot of internal soul searching. And this was interesting because coming from America, we don't really think past maybe 30, 40, 50 years. We're trying to think 100 years out, something that's generational. And we said, if we were going to make an object that would be part of our lives, how can we make it sustain 100 years or even longer? And so we sought out experts and individuals that are also like-minded within this thinking. We break this down into 3 phases. I'm going to take you through each of these 3 phases. The first is sustainable. You know, as one of the earlier speakers this afternoon said, it's not a matter of doing green architecture or green design. Every design, every environmental experience just should be green. And I believe that as well. I also think that when you create the experience or the product that you're going to be essentially sharing with your world, those that you care about, those that will inherit this particular experience, you need to think about what's going to go into it. And one of the things that we've been looking into is that we do have a trash problem. And how can you make something that can stand the test of time and also try to fix that unique issue and not contribute back to the problem? And there's a huge cesspool of PET bottles and trash coming from our region, the Pacific Ocean region, in the North Pacific. And we were looking at and studying how can we build something that's beautiful and architectural, something that is really akin that would last 100 years. And we're looking into new material sciences and how companies like Envision Plastics can reclaim these objects that were once created and then disregarded into our ecosystem. And then what can we actually make with that? And so we got together with a few of our also close-minded, like-minded friends, one of which is Surface Inc. And they're also applying this philosophy into the future products that they're making today. This is one example. It's a toy that's intended to really sort of stand the test of time and the wear and tear of young individuals, but it's also sustainable. It's created from collecting the waste, putting it into an experience that the children will enjoy, yet also it can gracefully degrade and go back into the ecosystem. The toy was designed so that it could be taken apart and also be disassembled and put back and recycled into something else. This is the like-minded thinking that we are inspired by and that we are building our new company around. Heirloom is another key pinnacle of what we see as part of the 100-year plan. If you think about Heirloom, as I mentioned earlier, as that example with the Sony tape deck, my dad actually had one of those. I probably still have it in the garage, maybe with Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. You want to be able to give something, and even if it if it's a piece of an electronic, that you might be able to still display it on your mantle, put it on your desk, and it still becomes part of your life that you're passing down to a generation. And when you think about heirlooms, it's not necessarily something that would come out of the United States, but there are also another set of like-minded individuals that we're working very closely with around this particular challenge, Box Clever being one of them. And a good example of something that can be passed down is essentially furniture. If you think about the one object that stands the test of time, it's something that we use every day, it's functional and can be inherited down generationally, that is definitely furniture. And they set out for the most recent Poesie project to create a set of extensible, very enriching objects that generationally will hold up in patina over the time that will just gracefully integrate within one's lives. And the best object that anyone can design is something that's really invisible, but you really depend on, and it just integrates within your own life. And I think that they really have accomplished this. And this is a really good example that inspires us to be that and deliver that heirloom quality. Another example, and this is something that probably will resonate with all of you here in Taipei, is a good friend of mine, Alexander Bezos, changed careers. We were just talking about entrepreneurship and reinventing yourself a little bit earlier. And what Alex did was he was a PhD philosophy student at the University of Kyoto who essentially decided, I'm going to make swords, I'm going to make knives in the traditional samurai blacksmithing technique. And he went back and he found a mountain and he started working on his craft, and he's applying that heritage mentality of creating some really exquisite, this is the picture of him in his outdoor setting, knives that really, if you think about using the material, building something that can stand and wear with the test of time, that is something that I believe we should all fold back into with our product design in the near future. Something to note about these types of technologies, whether it's metal, whether it's ceramic, whether it's reclaimed sustainable materials, now you'll be able to bring life and intelligence into them. You'll be able to add brains, essentially, creating a nascent object into a smart object, and that is what really will surround us within our connected homes. And heritage. Heritage is something that within the 100-year plan, I think in order for you to sustain that longevity of the product experiences that you're trying to create that can be passed down generationally as an heirloom object, you want to instill a sense of heritage. And that's something a lot of us can learn from a lot of the Swiss companies, the European couture brands. We're working very closely with a group of artisans, handcrafted artisans in Kyoto, studying, discussing, engaging with them around their craft and how their craft can be utilized in some of our thinking and some of the future ideas that we're going to be bringing to market. We call this collaboration Kyoto, California, or Kyokari. Essentially, the thinking behind this is, and this could be Taipei in California, this could be London and Beijing. The thinking about this is to take something that's of heritage, a craftsman experience, and melding it with the modern, melding it with the technology and the infrastructure and the entrepreneurship of a particular area. In this case, it's Silicon Valley. And because of the fusion of the two disciplines and experiences and knowledge colliding together, it will generate new ideas that never would have been envisioned. And that's part of the 100-year plan. Kaikado, Takahiro Yagi, who is an amazing craftsman, and inside of his family business, who generationally, dating all the way back to the early days when Kyoto was the capital, has been making some amazing canisters that have also started in a really refined, executed use of storing tea. But through the use of bringing back heirloom metals, how the metals were made hundreds of years ago, bringing that mentality back into delivering these next generation products, he's expanded so that now they meet the needs of chefs around the world for pasta or for coffee. And one of the incredible things about the particular products that he makes, and I brought one with me just to show everyone, is one, like, this is a brand new tea canister. And yet it has the finish of a 100-year object. And that's also the thought and thinking that went into this of the patina. How do you advance a patina? So it might initially be really shiny like these, but you could advance the aging and wearing of it. The other thing that's really impressive about this thinking of a 100-year plan is this has an incredible warranty. You could bring it back 60 years from now and they'll fix it. And that really comes down to the precision of hundredths of a millimeter that they have of hand making the closure mechanism. It's closing itself just by dropping it upon the top and flushing all the air out. That is incredible craftsmanship, and that is something that I would like to see every one of you that is in this audience as a designer, as an entrepreneur, as a larger corporation to apply towards all the product thinking that you do going forward. Textiles is also something that's really interesting to us right now. How do you apply textiles within electronics? This is Hoso. They're also a many-generational craftsman family in Kyoto who predominantly has been known for kimono making, but they've got into product design. And the types of fabrics that they're working on right now are just absolutely amazing. They have 3D properties to them. It's not just the sensualness of looking at the fabric, but it's touching it and the ripples and the textures. Here's an example of a piece of fabric that they've done that also has a 3D texture mapped onto it with two different treatments, black and red. Use your imagination using these heritage materials and try to think about how you can create new experiences and objects that can be sustainably handed down over the decades to come. They're collaborating on some old school, old world techniques of how you, like you saw the machine that makes the fabric, but they're also looking at future materials such as polymer resins and how do you fuse resin with fabric for this French designer handbag line. That's really innovative thinking that I really haven't seen very much of in the past 15 years. And then lastly, thinking about taking from the earth, using it, and then eventually in the future returning it to the earth. Another company, Kochosai Kosuga, has been working with lacquered bamboo to deliver really exceptional experiences that really are used in different disciplines. So here we have an example of a lamp that they've done, but they do, starting off with just very hairline strips of bamboo that could be really soft and supple to touch, and then weave them into things that are baskets for ikebana, or purses, or really soft pieces of wallets that feel like leather, but it's all made out of bamboo. This type of thinking, this synergetic collision of product design, old world heritage, and technology, kyokari, we would like to start exploring with other parts of the world as well. And so I encourage all of you later on to come up and have a discussion with me, and we'd love to share a little bit more about what our thinking is and what we're up to. It all ties into what we consider to be the new necessities. Things that we want to bring into our lives that really excite us, these architectural objects that basically transcend into 100 years experience. We call these heirloom for the future, and we'll be talking more about this in the months to come. Please remember to think about the materials you're choosing, make sure that they're sustainable, they're holistic, that you're thinking about the heirloom aspect of what you're making, that it's not going to end at the top of the e-waste pile. And then also think about the longevity from a heritage perspective. Building your own brand, collaborating with existing established brands to really bring to our world something that's exceptional and can be appreciated immensely. Think about the younger generation. I always think about my son. This is him standing on the beach at Kirby Cove in San Francisco. So with that, thank you very much.